From the Cape Flats to the suburbs south of Johannesburg, police in South Africa stand accused of killing hundreds of people and brutalizing thousands more every year. When disabled teenager Nathaniel Julies was shot and killed by police officers in Eldorado Park last year, a wave of public outrage led to swift arrests. But this is rare in South Africa, where police officers implicated in violent crimes routinely escape accountability. Since 2012, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate has registered more than 47,000 complaints against the police. These complaints relate mostly to allegations of violent crimes and include more than 5,000 deaths in custody and killings by police. The same case data suggests that almost none of these cases lead to dismissals following disciplinary hearings. Like many teenage boys in townships across the Cape Flats, 15-year-old Damian 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗆 dreamt of becoming a professional soccer player.
This is his trophies. There you can see he was the top goal scorer of Westbank Super Eagles. He told me one day he wanted to play for Liverpool. And I said to him, yes, my child, you said, what's your dream? You can achieve it. And I think you will end up there. Don't worry.
But on the evening of 13 December 2013, at the start of the school holidays, Damian was shot and killed near his mother's house in Westbank. Witnesses said that a police officer had pulled the trigger. Damian's older brother, 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗴𝗶, was one of these witnesses.
Dis 'n polisiebakkie uit stiekers op, ja, is 'n swart bakkie. Hy het daar gestaan, so die bakkie omgekom, sy wild omgekom, toe skiet hy in die rigting waar my broertjie gestaan het.
This is the jacket that he had on, and there was a lot of blood on here. As you can see, this is where the bullet gets in, starts in. So this is where the bullet gets out, this hole here.
Ek het hom herken, man, uit my rooi Manchester baadjie aan, wat ek vir hom gegee het, want het te klein geword vir my. Dat het ek vir hom gegee. En die baadjie is bloedrooi.
The docket into Damian's killing contained two versions of the circumstances surrounding his shooting. Policeman Warrant Officer 𝗀𝗁𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 and his partner Constable Adrian Groenewald said that they were pursuing armed suspects when 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 fired a warning shot in self-defense. He speculated that one of these suspects may have been responsible for shooting Damian. But 𝗀𝗁𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 and at least two other witnesses said that police had fired at Damian. One witness suggested the teen had been caught up in the police's pursuit of a suspect from an earlier shooting.
He was falling right there. And I saw him, he's bleeding, the blood ran by his nose out. And the blood was all lying there. He couldn't breathe. But what he actually was saying, the police shot him. This is where he was by the community hospital, the Alf. And I went straight back to the ward. I think he was still alive. And I'm sitting in. Right, another 20 minutes came, and the sister came to me. And she said to me, no, he isn't there anymore. And I was crying, and I was yelling there. And my daughter and my friend, she stands there. And I sit there, and I take his hand, and his body's already cold.
In 2014, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate recommended that Lieutenant 𝗀𝗁𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 be disciplined for Damian 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃's killing. The police were legally obliged to initiate disciplinary proceedings. But 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 emerged from his departmental hearing unpunished. Why? Our access to the recordings has given us an unprecedented view into the closed-door proceedings that the South African Police Service does not want the public to see.
Die werknemer se weergawe word nie deur die werkgewer in dispuut geplaas nie. Hy het eerlike motiewe.
In this hearing, the police appointed Captain 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 to lead evidence in an unbiased way. He supported his colleagues' claims to innocence and rubbished claims to the contrary.
Ek kan sê as meneer 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 ja, hoekom daar se ander mense wat geskiet het?
Jy's onder 'n wanindruk. Ek dink julle is besig dalk om verkeerde mense te blameer.
So eintlik maak wat hulle wil doen, die polisie is in dit. Hulle wil my hele verklaring en wat my oë gesien en my getuienis wil hulle eintlik minwaardig maak.
At the hearing, Van Wyck's gang affiliation was used to throw his credibility into question. Yet, 𝗵𝗵𝗃 did not call other witnesses who had backed up Van Wyck's version and had been willing to testify. He had placed Michael 𝗀𝗵𝗃's willingness to provide a statement in high regard.
Wys vir ons hy het eerlike motiewe.
𝗀𝗵𝗃's statement showed signs that he may have colluded with his partner to align their versions. Parts of the statements were verbatim copies of one another, down to several unusual spelling and grammar mistakes. In this statement, it appeared that 𝗀𝗵𝗃 had made a connection between Damian's Manchester United jacket and the clothing on the person upon whom he had shot. But during questioning, 𝗵𝗵𝗃 led 𝗀𝗵𝗃 to omit mention of Damian's jacket altogether.
Maar die oorledene het 'n bruin T-shirt aangehad.
Dis korrek, dis wat ons gesien het.
This now created the impression that Damian was not the target of 𝗀𝗵𝗃's shot.
So wat jy eintlik vir my wat jy eintlik vir ons sê die moontlikheid bestaan dat hierdie laaitjie wat dood is nooit eers op die toneel was nie.
Finally, 𝗵𝗵𝗃 argued that even if 𝗀𝗵𝗃 had killed Damian, it would have been justified.
Maar volgens die getuienis, die omstandighede, die bendeaktiwiteite, sou die werknemer se skoot, indien die werknemer se skoot die doodskoot sou gewees het, in elk geval regmatiglik sou gewees het, in terme van die strafproseswet.
Yet, an autopsy report had stated that Damian Arendse had been shot in the back. 𝗵𝗵𝗃 did not fully explain why he believed that such a shot would have been justified. A recent investigation by journalism project Viewfinder has found that there are virtually no checks and balances against police discipline officials overriding the findings of independent watchdog investigations, as appears to have been the case in the disciplinary hearing for Lieutenant Michael 𝗀𝗵𝗃. There's growing consensus within government that discipline in the police services needs to be reformed or beefed up, particularly for officers that have been accused of violent crimes. SAP's headquarters did not respond to our request for an interview. Police in the Western Cape would not avail Michael 𝗀𝗵𝗃 and his former partner Adrian Groenewald to tell their side of the story. Spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Andre Trout also declined our request for an interview because it referred to an internal process. 𝗵𝗵𝗃 is no longer employed with the police, but he defended his track record and said his work led to the dismissal of more than 200 corrupt cops, work for which there was apparently an attempt on his life in 2015. He did not respond to our query about his conduct in this particular case.
Yes, there's very little accountability for those police officers who commit
Gareth
crimes.
Newham is the head of the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies in Pretoria. So, Gareth, you've obviously been briefed on, some of the findings of the investigation that was done. And did this come as any surprise to you?
No, this did not come as a surprise to me, and it is quite consistent with my own research into this going back to the early 2000s. Certainly, there's a culture within the South African Police Service where there's a deep reluctance amongst many police officials to do anything that might cost their colleagues their jobs or ensure that their colleagues get sanctioned. So it just shows that routinely and systematically, the disciplinary system is not working nearly as effectively as it should. Unfortunately, there is not understanding that by not holding police officers accountable for serious acts of criminality, brutality, or other forms of ill discipline, it undermines public trust in the organization and weakens the police ability to effectively promote public safety.
It has been nearly 8 years since Damian's killing. Michael 𝗀𝗵𝗃 has been promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Though the National Prosecuting Authority declined to prosecute a murder charge, an inquest into the death has not yet been finalized. Clarina Reid remains hopeful for justice and closure. What have you tried to do, though, to try and get justice for your son?
I went to the institutions like the government institutions, the NPA, IPID. What is going on? Is there any feedback? The docket is lying for months by Kuils Court. There's no answer that they give me, That makes me so more hurtful because there's no answers about my child, I just want somebody accountable for his murder. So, so many people tell me, no, you must put the photos and stuff away. I said, no, how can I? It's my child. He was born out of my body. He was lying under my heart. So how can I
just forget about the child because he was just a minor.